readings, and it's possible that nobody will be here, but I'm just going to go ahead and go over them anyway. I was just adjusting this so you wouldn't see the light. Hang on a second, because that can be annoying. And we will get started. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go over the readings from Sunday's Church of Spirituality. The date was October 13th. And let's do that. I'm just going to kind of wait and see if anybody shows up. Hi! Let me grab the readings. Sorry I'm late. I had a call come in and I had to take it. Thank you for being here. Lots of changes happening. I know usually we have a meeting for Gloucester to Democracy. I'm on a hiatus from that until after the election. So if you do come to those meetings, we have well over 100 guided meditations in our archives if you ever want to do them. Lots of changes. Let's go to our program. We'll start with our prayer for a healed America, our prayer for healing. All right. Prayer for healing in the United States. I'm going to read this kind of slowly so we can really reflect on what the spiritual mind treatment prayer is all about. So take a deep breath. Make sure you won't be interrupted as we pray together. Thank you for being here. God is all in all, the divine presence that is everywhere. There is no spot where God is not. We declare that we, the people of the United States, along with the rest of the world, are one with this divine presence. Divine order is working through the situations of divisiveness and the appearances of hatred. We know and experience that everything is always happening for the ultimate outcome of healing and rebirth everywhere. Darkness that has been manifest is now fully removed and dissolved. Those who have outpictured hatred and vitriol are now stopped in their tracks. We see evidence now that the light is presently in the process of eliminating evil, stopping all violence, healing and protecting this and all nations. Enemy countries that may have received United States secret information find that it has been rendered useless. Potential plans for any and all attacks are stopped. Harm to the people simply does not occur. Domestic terrorist extremist groups and individuals drop their arms and weapons, deciding that the planning of attacks on our nation and on all nations is useless and simply not worth it. Collectively, we choose to have and to contribute to a country and a world of peace. Justice is now in full operation and truth prevails, replacing all lies and negative rhetoric. We see the triumph of peace over conflict. Leaders who stand for love and unity prevail and win. Those who have stood for hatred and violence now fall from positions of power according to the divine will. People everywhere demand and stand for the infinite power of love and interconnected harmony with one another. We eliminate from this prayer treatment any and all manifestations of fear, panic, doubt, worry, now and in the future. Negative emotions have lost all power. Negative outcomes simply do not happen. Positive occurrences and progress are the case, no matter the outward appearances. We work together as one country and one world to make America a safe and protected nation that is a beacon for a working democracy for the good of this nation and the world. America heals now and becomes better than ever before. As we release this treatment to the divine law of harmony and good, we give thanks that it is so, and so it is. Thank you for joining me in that spiritual mind treatment affirmative prayer. The theme for October has been aligning with spirit. The sermon was connect, then surrender. All right, so say hello. Okay, Wall Street shut down, Truth Social stock. Interesting. So, we're saying this spiritual mind treatment affirmative prayer. We've said it for over 2 years now, I believe. And there's lots of movement happening. Lots of things are happening. Hello. That sometimes they look scary. Sometimes they look like things are getting worse. That's why it says, no matter the outward appearances. Positive occurrences and progress are the case, no matter the outward appearances. Okay. I'm going to read our mission statement too, just to kind of remind us why we're here. We believe we are all connected to divine intelligence, continually moving through all of life and all living things. We remember to always align ourselves with this divine presence to create healing miracles in our own lives, positively affecting the lives of all those we come into contact with, seen and unseen. We believe that the kingdom of heaven resides within each and every one of us, and that love is all there is. We know and acknowledge that we are one. We are all joined together in spirit. Not only are we all joined together in spirit here while we're here together, we're joined in spirit to every living being. I just was on the phone with my best friend, and we were talking about Sadhguru, and Sadhguru just saying, I'm going to just share this with you in regards to he has a Save Soil movement. I add that at the end of every service to please contribute to savesoil.org. And what he said about Save Soil was, even if you're just maintaining your own little pot of soil with maybe your tomatoes or whatever, and that contributes to the overall awareness. So we might think the little things that we do are not that significant, but they don't have to be big. They just have to align with what everybody else is. Not everybody else, but what other like-minded people are also doing for the higher good. Make sense? All right. Let me, this thing bothers me. All right. Feel free to ask any questions. Aligning with spirit is what we're talking about. We are always connected to spirit. We are spirit. We are spiritual beings. And we are energetically connected, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? We're energetically connected. So always know that whatever good that you do is affecting the whole. And that even goes for whatever love that you're feeling for yourself affects the whole. If you feel loving towards yourself and you're really looking after yourself, then it uplifts other people around you. Someone might bump into you and be feeling like terrible about themselves, and then they just feel a vibration coming from you of being open and welcoming and engaging and loving, and then they also would get ignited in them, and they would also feel like, I feel kind of good about myself just by being in your presence without you having said a word. It's the biggest kind of paradox, or it feels like a contradiction, that we must love ourselves. Louise Hay made her whole life about learning to love ourselves. So understand that when we take the time and we connect with spirit, we will feel more of that love. And then we do make a difference because we adjust our energy. We adjust our energy to be better and higher for the healing of all. Let's look to our first reading. I do need these. From Charles Fillmore. I really like this reading. This is definitely, it warrants a deep dive. Charles Fillmore started Unity Church somewhere in the South. I have to look. I don't know if it was Arkansas. I'll look that up. Spirit will find a way to lead you when you have freely and fully dedicated yourself to God, and you will be led in a path just a little different from that of anyone else. Because the guidance from God is kind of like individualized to us. Our guidance is, we do have specific paths and specific journeys that we came here to experience. So you'll be led in a path just a little different from that of anyone else when you really are feeling tapped into Spirit, to God. Your teaching has been in generalities, so when Spirit in its office as an individual guide shows you truth different from that which you have been taught, you may object. The divine often wants us to understand that we are autonomous beings. So here's the thing. We're connected to the whole. We're connected to one another. And we all have individual kind of tasks and purposes. They might be similar to somebody else's, but nobody's the same. Just like no snowflake is exactly like another. Nobody's fingerprint is exactly like another. So we're individuals in that regard, and that will always make you feel like, oh, I'm a little different. Doesn't have to be a lot different, but we're all a little bit different from each other. And so we get slightly different guidance, or maybe very different guidance at times. Excuse the motorcycle. So when Spirit in its office as an individual guide shows you truth different from that which you have been taught, you may object. It's not easy to be different. If, for instance, you have been taught to ignore the body with all its passions and appetites, and Spirit in its instruction shows you that you are to recognize these appetites and passions as your misdirected powers, what are you going to do about it? There can be one course for the obedient devotee. So I'm going to read that again, because we're here to understand it. If you've been taught to ignore the body and all its passions and appetites, and Spirit shows you that you are to recognize these appetites and passions, what are you going to do about it? We do not want to push down, stifle our passions and our appetites for living. That's one of the most painful things that I've ever observed in people and in my own life, is kind of like hiding your passion, hiding your light, pretending it doesn't matter, pretending that you are not creative and talented and spiritual, whatever it is. So if Spirit's telling you you're to recognize these appetites and passions, what are you going to do about it? There can be but one course for the devotee. If you have surrendered all to omnipresent wisdom, you must take as final what it tells you. You will find that its guidance is that right course for you. The guidance will feel right. It will resonate. It will kind of click. And in the end, that it was the only course that you could possibly have taken. Individualized to you. All things are manifestations of the good. Man in his spiritual identity is the very essence of good, and he can do no wrong. So Spirit will motivate you to engage in what you're passionate about. And if you want to feel happy and joyful, that's what to do. Sometimes it's a lot of hard work. Sometimes it's very challenging, but that's what to do. And I read on Sunday, an excerpt from this book by Tony Stone. I showed it to you. It's not in front of me right now. Where I read a little excerpt from one of her books, A Prosperous Thought for the Day. If you want to know more about that, just email me, AnnetteDion7@gmail.com. And I read about failure. I read what she wrote about the people who have failed. If it's your path, it might be hard, it might be challenging, it might look like it's, you're kind of playing with failure, but if it's your path, it's your path. What if the dark creeps in? You have to be more specific with your question. Like, how do you define the dark? Pray for Colin Allred. He's debating cruise right now. Okay, yep, we're sending him good vibes. He has a lot of light around him. So in regards to Rita's question, when you are engaged in what brings you passion and joy, the dark side cannot touch you. When you're fully immersed in what your gifts and your talents and your joy that bring you joy are, the evil cannot touch you. I know that. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? It's so true. You are so powerful when you're in alignment. And you're so powerful when you're doing self-love. When you're in self-love, you're so powerful. Rhonda wants a prayer. Yes, we can pray for you. Just say, yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad that was helpful. So see, when one person asks a question, it helps everyone. Somebody has a prayer request, you need to just type it in so that we can have you in our thoughts and prayers. And feel free to throw some other questions up as they come up. And if I miss it, just say it again. Just put it up again. Louis Joy is slowing down the mail, suggested people with mail-in ballots. Read that. We have political tips here too. Oh, you have to put your dog down today. I'm so sorry. That's a family member. All right, we'll take a moment to send Rhonda and her family a lot of love. I don't know if it helps you to know that your dog's spirit is with you, but maybe it does. I do feel that. Your dog is very appreciative of what you did for your dog and his life, or her life. Okay, let's go to the second reading. I just want to remind you the theme has been aligning with spirit. And the sermon was Connect, Then Surrender. He was 14 years old with bone cancer. I really get a strong sense that your dog loved you so much and is so appreciative of the care that you took. And like people, their spirits are still around. Yeah, I hope you can feel the love that's coming to you, Rhonda, and your family. That's why we're here. So our second reading is from the collected works of H. Emily Cady. If you want to look up Emily Cady, it's H. I don't know what her first name was. Maybe Helen. I'm guessing. H. Emily. It's spelled Emilie, and Cady is Cady. We're going through some changes, and I didn't get the program for this week onto the website, but I think you all receive it. Anyway. There are today two classes of people so far as mentality goes, she says. There are today two classes of people so far as mentality goes who are seeking deliverance out of sickness, trouble, and unhappiness by spiritual means. Yeah, that's what we're just talking about here. So one class of people requires that every statement made be proved by the most elaborate and logical argument before it can or will be received by them. Some people need to know, they need the data, they need the proof, they need... Okay, so that's one class of people. That's one kind of a category of people. They're both fine. And here's the other. The other class is willing at once to become as little children, like it says in the Bible. That Jesus said, become like little children. Just, open and innocent. And just be taught how to take the first step toward pure understanding or knowledge of truth as God sees it. So this is the other group of people. They can become open and innocent as little children and just be taught how to take the first step. And then receives the light by direct revelation from the all good. So God kind of guides them, and they just kind of follow the feelings and the impulses. So then receives the light by direct revelation from the all good. Both types of people are seeking, and eventually both will reach the same goal. And neither one should be unduly condemned. If you are one who seeks and expects to get any realizing knowledge of spiritual things through argument or reasoning, just logic, just left brain only, no matter how scholarly your attainments or how great you are in worldly wisdom, you are a failure in spiritual understanding. Spirit is not really logical. Just my little side note. Spirit kind of has other plans a lot of the time, but it's always for the greater good. You are attempting an utter impossibility, that of crowding the infinite into the quart measure, like a quart, of your own intellectual capacity. It reminds me of when the first time I met Sadhguru, the first 3 words. The first 3 words Sadhguru ever said to me when I met him, I was telling him about all these wonderful things I was doing with the spiritual groups that I organized, like mastermind groups and everything, being able to manifest things by kind of praying for one another. He said, why limit it? Took me years to figure out what he was talking about. And here it is. You're attempting an utter impossibility, that of crowding the infinite into the quart measure, like a quart of milk, into the quart measure of your own intellectual capacity. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Spirit is very insensible sometimes. He cannot know them because they are spiritually judged. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. If you're coming at it from logic, it seems foolish, the way Spirit works. And he cannot know them because he's judging them spiritually. Eventually you will find that you are only beating around on the outside of the kingdom of heaven, though in close proximity to it. Getting there, but it's like you have to know the what, but not the how. And then you will then become willing to let your intellect take the place of the little child, without which no man can enter in. Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them, and them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For who among men knoweth? So this is like almost 100 years ago, and people used a lot of words, and it's kind of like poetry, right? So that's why we do a deep dive into these readings too, so we can really understand them. But in a nutshell, my takeaway from this Emily Cady writing from the collected works of Emily Cady is really, have you ever heard the little joke, the little saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans? Have you ever heard that one? I struggle with this constantly. Maybe you do too. When you're praying and you're hoping and you're intending and you think you need it in a certain way and a certain timeline, and if it doesn't happen, then you're going to get all mad, right? We're human. But spirit works in very mysterious ways, and we can never know exactly for sure. I mean, you all know that I work as a psychic, right? So I mean, it's not ever 100% accuracy. But we do have the gift of being able to discern. We have the gift of discernment. We have the gift of being able to feel how energy is going and where it's headed. But knowing exactly how and exactly when is the mystery. And we know that sometimes, things do a little like quantum leap from one place to another, where it was one way, and then we call that a miracle. Something was one way, maybe somebody was having illness and or felt any kind of illness, and then suddenly one day they went, I'm just not going to be ill anymore. And that was spoken of in one of the readings. I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week's. I am, when Neville Goddard was talking about I am, let the sick man say I am strong. That. So that's what I consider a quantum leap. And what I want to get everyone here to share in the sentiment of is, first of all, we don't have to know how it's going to happen, whatever it is. We just have to know what. So that Emily Cady kind of addressed those two ways of being in life. She described it as two classes of people, right? The logical mind, the logical type of person that's more predominantly logical, will have a harder time with not knowing. And I want to just also add to this that's also a trauma response. Not always, but often, if one finds oneself really caught up on the details and things have to be a certain way, and that can be a trauma response from childhood when things were really unpredictable. So we come at life from that way. We come at life that way, based on how we're just wired from birth, and also based on how we were raised. To be able to kind of jump into the void of the mystery, like you might know exactly what you want, but not how to get there. We have to have this surrender experience. And in order to trust the surrender experience, yeah, Barbara can relate to that. In order to trust the surrender experience, we would have had to have had somewhere along the line a knowing, an experiential knowing that spirit is present in our lives. And if it's hard to get to that, we can look at the mysteries of life, like how an acorn is coated with the DNA that makes it into an oak tree. How does that happen? We don't know. That's the mystery. How does it know when to sprout? How does it, because we're coded a certain way. So we have to know, that spirit has all that potential, but we won't feel it until we make the time to be with it. We kind of need a relationship with spirit, right? Like anything, you may have heard it said, if you want to be in a good relationship, even a friendship, the reason your friends are your friends are because you spent time with them. That's what creates a friendship, right? That's what makes a friendship a friendship. So in order to know what's possible with spirit, we have to have a relationship with spirit. And Ernest Holmes calls it practicing the presence. To get to know what spirit feels like. And we live in a highly distracted society, and we're highly distractible. So that takes a little work, especially nowadays in the information age where it's always coming in. All right? I recommend 2 meditation breaks a day. That's what I do. I was taught a certain kind of meditation with Sadhguru, but you don't need to do that kind. You can do any kind. But to have that relationship. And when you were a child, fortunately you weren't brought up with cell phones. I don't think anybody here was brought up with a cell phone. You had lots of opportunities. I mean, for me, it was to be out on my bicycle and take walks on the beach and just, kind of go off and hang out by myself. We have to have that. And when we have that, we develop a sense, and we do develop it. It comes over time. That's what trust is. We know that what Spirit has in store for us is within us to begin with, like the acorn will unfold in our lives on Spirit's timeline. It will unfold. It could be fast, slow, or medium, right? Like our chant, we say at Church of Spirituality, we sing that, I go at God's pace, and I receive God's guidance. God provides abundantly. I have no fear at all. I move at God's pace. So we just have to be able to have a familiarity with Spirit, and that brings a calm. We become calm. And in that calm, we can trust. And it is a practice, and people who have trauma from childhood have a challenge with this, and we all have trauma to some degree. It just takes doing the being. Being a human being, not a human doing, right? Do the being. My new slogan I just made up. Does anyone have any questions? See, because from that place, we can have that settledness, which is a sense of surrender, right? You got to start doing the being, right? Okay, does that make sense? I hope. I'll answer a question. I like to not make these sessions too terribly long. Send Rhonda Cox's family a lot of love and comfort. Dog Spirit is with you, as hard as it is. A pet is a family member. Michelle do you have a question? Are you saying yes because you have a question? Okay. All right. So that's how we become more aligned with Spirit, is we have to tap in. Okay. I think we're good. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next week at Church of Spirituality, if not before. And I hope that you took some wisdom that you can take into the rest of your week. And I'll see you, those of you who tune into PNN, I'll see you tomorrow night. Namaste. Thank you. Bye.